Merkel gets her mouth slammed shut by Trump after criticizing what he just did to North Korea. How did Germany ever become such a weak nation and go on to elect a gutless wimp like Angela Merkel as their chancellor? German chancellor and all-around pro-Islam globalist darling Angela Merkel actually had the balls to warn President Trump on Friday against the escalation of rhetoric in the wake of rising tensions between the U.S. and North Korea. She actually went as far as to add that she didn't see a military solution to the issue. The globalist hack actually went on to say that she didn't see a military solution to this conflict, and later added that she'd rather see continuous work within the UN Security Council to continue resolutions against Fat Boy in North Korea. She also said she expected great cooperation on this with the affected countries of South Korea and Japan. Is this woman for real? Can she really be this naive? When President Trump was asked about Merkel's asinine comments, he replied by saying that she might be referring to their German stance, but it most definitely isn't what we in the US will be doing if Fat Boy continues to put the world on edge with his nuclear threat. Legal Insurrection reports. U.S. President Donald Trump does reject the German Chancellor Angela Merkel's advice on how to handle the North Korean crisis. Let her speak for Germany, Trump told reporters yesterday, referring to the statement made by Merkel earlier in the day. She's a very good friend of mine, Trump said. Maybe she's referring to Germany, she's certainly not referring to the United States. Merkel had criticized Trump's recent statements aimed at North Korean regime, saying, "I consider a verbal escalation to be the wrong response." Trump reacts to Merkel rebuke with a clear message, reported the leading German daily Die Welt. The country's state-run broadcaster Deutsche Welle came to Merkel's defense, complaining, "Peace-loving German chancellor advocates an international diplomatic response and Trump ignores Merkel's pleas against violence." Germany's most read newspaper Die Welt reported the latest exchange between Trump and Merkel. U.S. President Donald Trump won't be showing much interest to German Chancellor Angela Merkel's warning against the escalation in North Korean crisis. Let her speak for Germany, Trump said on Friday. Earlier, Merkel had warned against the use of military, and made it clear that Germany would only be engaged itself non-militarily. "I see no military solution to the conflict," Merkel said in Berlin on Friday. And reacting to the question if Germany would stand with the U.S. in the case of a war, she replied that she doesn't consider it necessary. She criticized the sharp rhetoric in the North Korean crisis. "I am convinced that the escalation of language would not lead to the solution of the conflict," she added, in light of ever-increasing threats from both sides. Translation by author. President Trump's fire and fury tirade against the regime of Kim Jong-un has escalated tensions with North Korea, commented Der Spiegel in its international edition. "Seldom has that threat been as great as it is right now, given that nuclear warheads now exist on both sides of the Pacific, representing an existential threat to each end. On the one side, you have in Trump, an unrestrained and unfocused Twitter tycoon who has achieved very little during his first 200 days in office. On the other side, you have North Korea's dictator, a man for whom shill war cries are merely a staged show of power." Martin Schulz, a longtime EU official and Merkel's socialist rival in the next month's general elections, lamented that Trump far worse than expected. "Trump is a risk to his country and the entire world." Ironically, Schulz doesn't consider Merkel's open doors policy for illegal migrants a risk. "Frau Merkel has taken a clear stand, and I share it," Schulz said at the onset of the migrant crisis 2 years ago. Germany's leading current affairs magazine Der Spiegel was surprised to see the current U.S. president responding in kind to North Korean provocations in the past. "Most U.S. presidents have put up with this kind of saber-rattling. But not Trump, who responds to just about every threat with a counter-threat," the German weekly wrote. After 8 of Obama's leading from behind foreign policy, Merkel and the EU are having a tough time adjusting to the new leadership style that Trump has brought to Washington. Poor Angela Merkel is in denial. Her globalist UN handlers have told her it's okay for Fat Boy over in North Korea to keep the world on edge with his temper tantrums. The UN is a worthless entity we shouldn't be paying for, and it should be moved to somewhere in Europe where they subscribe to their anti-American and anti-Semitic sentiments. Obama isn't president anymore, which means the US is now once again using cowboy diplomacy, which is the only kind of diplomacy these two-bit dictators such as Fat Boy understand. Trump's words send a clear message that no dictator will be extorting any money from us anymore. And we won't be sending any more signed Michael Jordan basketballs anytime soon neither. If Fat Boy keeps doing this, all he will be getting is the ability to glow in dark. Please share if you support President Trump. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe Breaking News 365 channel. Goodbye and see you again.